Now, the Union Cabinet has cleared the Women's Reservation Bill, setting the stage for its presentation in Parliament, a move being hailed as a historic push towards gender equality in Indian politics. The bill is seeking to reserve 33% of seats in the Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies for women, a long-pending reform aimed at correcting the severe underrepresentation of women in lawmaking bodies. This legislation is significant not just for what it proposes, but for what it represents. For nearly 3 decades, attempts to pass such a bill failed due to political disagreements, making this breakthrough a major consensus moment in Indian democracy. Currently, women make up only 14% of Lok Sabha members, highlighting the gender gap in political participation. The bill aims to change that by structurally ensuring women have a stronger voice in decision-making at both national and state levels. Why is this a milestone? Well, because it shifts India from symbolic empowerment to institutionally representing women, potentially transforming governance priorities from health and education to social welfare through greater inclusion of women's perspectives. In essence, this bill is not just about reservation, it's about redefining power, participation and parity in the world's largest democracy. Well, joining us live is Lieutenant Colonel Himanshi Singh, defense expert. Thank you very much for being with us today on Newsx. The government in this special session on 16th April will be moving to pass this constitutional amendment required to make the reservation in Parliament an actuality by 2029. How do you see this reform?
As you said, it is historic because more than 3 decades have passed when the single piece of paper of the Women Reservation Bill, it floated through the corridors of power and people were not taking it so seriously. But now it has reached a point which is the final destination, and we understand this very well, that if you are not part of the system, then nobody takes you very seriously. So somewhere the good sense has prevailed, and the Nari Shakti Adhiniyam will definitely bring women to the main street from panchayat to parliament, where they are not just going to be heard, but they are going to make a decision for the law of the land. And the way it has been passed unanimously in parliament, if we see the Lok Sabha, 454 votes were in favor, just 2 in opposition of this vote. And in Rajya Sabha, it was passed unanimously. So somewhere people realize that women in power can make the difference. And it is also about the vote bank, where they understand that women are actually coming out of their house and voting. So electorally, it's going to make a lot of difference when such a news is given to them. Being in power, for a woman is equally important because the policies are made in parliament. So when they are elected and they come out, they will be giving more weightage to the welfare schemes where the actual development happens rather than just the infrastructure. Because this is a survey which was conducted across the globe, and people have come out that where women lead, the progress is much more. So it's a welcome decision for India, not just historic, but it is going to be a turning stone in the history of India, where women will actually make a difference. Because as of now, there are just 15% women in parliament.
Yes.
And I think we need more voices, because any country, especially a country like India, which is known as the mother of all democracies, if it does not have a good representation of women, I think we have actually not progressed. So I really applaud it from the bottom of my heart.
Also from armed forces to parliament, how important has it been to integrate more women officers and representatives?
This bill will not have any effect when it comes to the defenses and the paramilitary forces as far as the women are concerned, because those I'll say segment of the society are merit based. When I say merit, it has a structure which has to be followed. But when we talk about the parliament, yes, definite increase from 50% to 33% will be a good jump. When the Supreme Court made the permanent commission for women was approved by the judgment was passed, I was part of it, and I've actually seen how we have struggled through 10-15 years to get the parity with men in armed forces, and it was a long drawn battle. But now the permanent commission has come, and apart from that, the NDA and other places also the women are coming. So what happens when there are more women? First of all, there is a lot of security, emotional security. Moreover, the rules and regulations, they take care of the people when, the majority, the law of majority also comes in. And not just the permanent commission. See, earlier there were no maternity leave which was applied to women. I gave birth to my first child without any maternity leave. But since we fought the case and now they don't just have maternity leave, they also have the child care leave. So they are able to give their best to the organization which is taking care of the women. And when it comes to parliament, as I earlier brought out, when there are women who are making rules, they actually understand the problems of women. They understand their constituencies well, and they also understand the requirement which are at the grassroots level. Because we may talk about the equality, but if equity is not there in that equality, then you're actually just making it a political gimmick. But the moment it comes on the grassroots level with equity, I think women will participate more. And it is also about, since, as I earlier brought out, since 50% of voters are women, it is then become imperative on the many parties which are there in power to understand not just the requirement, but how the women will be educated, how the working opportunities will be provided to them, how the healthcare system will work around women, how the transportation will work around women.
Yes.
So all these important things are
Also, do you believe Nari Shakti for the Modi government is more than just a slogan? Is that coming through now?
we have seen the world is evolving, and it is the government which understands this. And the Modi government is a very, very progressive government. And we have seen, even for the first time, when the permanent commission for women was coming, after that they opened the gate for Sanic schools, they opened the gate for NDAs, they opened the gate for various ventures for women, not just about the education, but also about getting jobs. So if you see the Modi government, it has started the Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao. It started the Ujjwala Yojana. It started so many schemes for women, Lakpati Didi, for example. So this government is definitely trying to bring women to the mainstream.
Yes, do you also believe all members of parliament must back the 33 reservation for women? Should there be unanimity as appealed for by Prime Minister Modi?
I think now it is imperative on them to applaud it and implement it, because as I said that, leadership is now evolving. It is no more about gender. It is about the merit. So anybody, whether it's a man or a woman, if they are brought to the mainstream and if they can speak about their rights, then the real change begins. What was happening? Only 15% women were there in the parliament. And I think that is not a voice which actually can make a lot of difference. But 33%, that is one third of women being in power, can make all the difference. And people know that if they oppose this bill, then they will be losing out on women voters. So all the parties.
Right. From your experience also in the forces, how does the presence of women change decision making as well?
See, what I have seen during my more than 2.5 decades in army, when we came to the army, the law was strictly based on how the men were there in the army. So even the basic facilities like having a separate toilet was not there. Then, as I brought out, the basic requirements like maternity leave was not there. So all these things which are, there was no rule about the women hygiene. Nobody actually cared about the women health and hygiene, because everything was based on how men perceived. When women are there and if they grow in majority, like in Indian army, if I may say so, there are about 7,000 women. When I started, my number was 265. So I was under that 300 women in the forces. So laws were very, very different. But as we went to the Honorable Supreme Court and it heard us, So first of all, the equality came. Then after equality, the laws were amended. So if you are a unified force, the laws also get amended to suit your requirements. See, the law is not for one person or two-person, but when there is a majority, law takes care of everyone equally. And
Also, could greater female representation in legislatures change how policies address issues like safety, maternal health, workforce participation? Could we see all of this changing as well, Lieutenant Colonel Singh? My last question to you.
see, when you talk about women in power, then definitely if you know what rules should be made to affect you, and it is not about seats, it is about voice. And when your voice is heard and it matters to people who are in power, then definitely women can actually have a good negotiating power. When your voice does not matter to people, when you're less in number, then you do not have the negotiating capacity. So when women are in power, they are understanding how the system works, that understanding of the system matters to them. And as Yogi Adityanath also said, once in I was listening to his interview. He's a sadhu, he's a yogi, and he said, I decided to join politics because I knew that it is very important to be in system, to change the system, or to have the system which is fair for all. So I think when women come to power and women make their reservations or make their representations, I think their voice will be heard, because we understand that we people sit in the tier 1 city or a capital city of Delhi.
All right, Lieutenant Colonel